Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. Today, we're going to be looking at a piece from one of our close friend artists. His name is Botanisant, is one of them, and you'll see him from the handle mopfactory. You'll see him in the description down below. You'll also see him on our Instagram. But I really, really like this piece, and I kind of wanted to dive deeper into it today. So, obviously, in our initial introduction, we see a lot going on in this piece. There is this massive, what it feels to be, crowd with these. Of course, they put their hands up. They appear to be clapping, but they all are facing this way because the hands, of course, are in front. And all through here, you see the symbols of the eye. You see this background with what appear to be clouds, kind of this greenish emerald sky here. We see a really, really nice dark on light contrast here, which creates this urban environment. And we also have a lone figure that is facing this direction as well, facing the crowd or facing the massive flurry and stampede of people here. So the first thing I really notice here is that, of course, they're all facing this singular subject. So you have a large mass facing the lone person. So that, of course, is already a very, very incredible contrast. Also, we have a literal contrast here as well because you have a light on dark contrast here. And then of course, the urban environment or the quote-unquote stage is the dark on light as well. So there's multiple emphases of contrast here, and that's what gives this piece so much energy and so much depth here. I really, really like this radiant dark neon blue. Maybe I'm biased because that's just one of my favorite colors, purple and blue, but I really, really like this. Of course, we have what appears to be a simulated stage, and then the stage is within the larger city or the urban environment, which still acts as a separation or boundary from the larger crowd or mass that is watching them. So we see, of course, we talked about the literal contrast. We talked about the contrast by attention or contrast by quantity of people here. I almost said Personen. That was a little German given to me. But the symbols of the eye are incredibly important because they also represent attention. So not only do you have this massive people looking at this singular subject, but you have the literal symbol of attention looking directly there as well. And so the eye is a very, very archaic and very, very old symbol. Think Horus in Egypt. You know, these things have been around for thousands of years and most likely much, much longer through things like oral tradition. So that's incredibly important to think of as well. So the original artist created this in mind, talking about the contrast of social media and fame. And we're going to read from his words directly here in a bit, but I'm going to see if there's anything else I want to do here. So, of course, this is the elevated one. This is the one that is emphasized and has all this attention on that individual. So that's incredibly important to note as well. He's possibly the creator on social media that has such a large following, because what we saw was nowadays, instead of having to go on a TV channel to have your voice heard, you simply post to YouTube. That's the decentralization of communication and the empowerment of the individual that we saw on YouTube, when you could monetize your own creative content and make something from that. We're also seeing that with things as well. So it's incredibly important how the decentralization of the internet empowered the individual more and more and more to take their own fate into their own hands and create their own channel where people centralized around the individual instead of being decentralized around everything else. So that's incredibly important to note. A decentralized group of individuals coming to one person's channel instead of everyone having to rely on, legacy media channels to have their voice heard. That's incredibly empowerment of the individual. So whenever someone is on social media, they of course have a lot of influence. They could sway the masses. Of course, you see the masses in a really, really nice literal example here. And I think this artist has done an amazing, amazing job at creating that, because you see the dark on light contrast, but you see so much energy in the piece. you see this crowd and you can almost feel their energy as they're all, let's mark this here. So they're all going towards the individual. Even this guy here, you see them, they're going down. That is, he's not facing like that way. He's facing down, So that's incredibly important to note. And I think this creates this radial effect. And I say radial as in like circular effect, where they're all intersecting down onto the individual there. So I think that creates so much visual energy within the piece, but it also brings you into what feels like the chaos of social media, how we're seeing so many posts fly by you instantly, and you can, you're kind of on this highway and you're just one of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on the social media. So it really is like a digital urban environment where there's tons of people. All right, so we're going to drop into what the original artist shared. These are literal quotes, so let's look at them real quick. All right, let's see if I can get this working. All right, so it says, this is similar to, by the way, it's attention on social media. I think it's so about social media or society really to suggest that celebrities or influencers, politicians, figure exists in mysteries of pop. In order to manage conversation, not with a full stadium of people, a stadium is an organism than an individual. Slow and dumb. In the same way, when I look at an electrical outlet, I might on the socket. So interpret the moon. We have to do something similar to stadium in order to have a conversation with it. We have to interpret it as something mass when they made it up endless people, simulating tons of people mass similar to how the Matrix movies is a myth. Most people themselves and pain deal with it. Like how money is just made up, but we the myth of the stock market to effectively deal with feeding and clothing nation states. The green audience coagulates into several red eyes that represent the single emergent face from a swarm of people. Wi-Fi signals in red stream into the city, showing how every building in the distance contains a swarm endlessly denoting the sky spectator macroorganisms. The footsteps of the presenter and the bottom right trail from the underground of cities, but now he is on a special stage. He is positioned beneath all of these people. I think a cult is when the identity of the group is defined by their alpha, whereas in a culture, the identity of the alpha is defined by their group. Within the Republican Party, Trump is a cult leader as he theoretically can endorse or assassinate Republican elected officials. Trump is not a Republican official. Must submit to Trump and define him. But with America as a whole, he is simply a culture leader. Americans are not a toxic version of Trump, they're a toxic version of America. These are usually in the to power. Without subscribers, they are just another idiot of the win. Similar to the lone figure bottom right acknowledges this, and while the stage curtains envelop them like an oversized superhero gate, they must take on the weight with this. What's this part? Take on the weight of the masses in order to contend with this position. So I think that is a really, really important. We're going to hop back right up to it and see what else we learned we can point out here. So, of course, he mentioned that red lines Wi-Fi stream signals. So those are radiating off. It also says that these red eyes represent the coagulation, the intersection of all these into one emergent figure. So that's also a note. Then we also, the individual has to have a conversation with, in order the masses, in order to contend with them and actually deserve a position, because everyone is judging at once on the individual and they are on the stage. So that's also really incredibly important to note as well. I believe the second piece, we're going to the Apollo archive of this artist. More of his pieces, his name will be in the description. Also check out the Instagram piece. And I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all learned some really solid lessons on social media and how to really contend with in order to deserve your, and of course this massive collective face that emerges from the decentralized collection of individuals. So there's a lot of different dynamics here. I think that the artist is doing an incredible job of displaying that. There's a lot of energy in this piece, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you on the next Apollo art analysis.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.